in the appetite for loans?
Yes, I think what it means is that the general economy is going to be slow and steady for the next 2 to 5 months. And that's good news and bad news, I guess. But we do see the index grew 1% last month, and it ended the year at 112 points. So it started 2012 at 110.8, and it ended at 112. So we ended up about a point up for the year, far less than the growth that we had the prior year, where it grew about 12 times that. But certainly, it's a positive step, a step in the right direction, and I think it just really indicates slow and steady growth over the next 2 to 5 months.
You and I have talked a couple of times about when this translates into small business jobs, because that's obviously a key sector to the employment picture overall. We continue to see on a national level some improvement there. So is this the year finally that we start to see a real pickup in jobs among small businesses?
If we can get the small businesses to start investing again in a big way, if we can get back to that level where the index was at 133 back in 2007, we could see about 900,000 new jobs. Some of the latest analysis we've done shows that for every point increase in the index, you get about 42,000 new jobs in the country. And so that's a really big positive, and that's where a lot of job creation can come from. So I think we just need to create some confidence for these small business owners to start to invest heavily again and to get back to that pre-recessionary levels of 133 or even more on the index. And that'd be good news for everyone.
Well, isn't there now still an overhang because Washington is going to start tackling the budget story in a big way in a couple of weeks from now? So how in the world are they going to find any confidence when you still have some of these unresolved issues?
I think that's the big problem here is, the small business owner hasn't really come out of his or her shell yet, and we can really see that in this data. When we just grew a point or so for the whole year, I mean, it's a little bit underwhelming, and especially in light of 2011, which grew 16 points, and 2010, which grew about a 20% rate. And so we really need these small businesses to start to come out of their shell, start to get comfortable with investment. When a small business makes a $250,000 mistake, it's a big deal on their bottom line. So they're very cautious with their investments. They make very deliberate, systematic decisions. And I don't think we've seen them kind of break out yet and get out of their shell, although their fiscal shape is fantastic right now. And that really positions them well for some big increases in their investments.
Bill, were you worried at all when you saw a few days ago that Q4 GDP number, which was negative? Do you think that's a one-off, or is that a possible risk here for the small business community that perhaps, despite some of the other numbers, there's some issues?
Well, the small business community was signaling that negative GDP. If you recall, some of these interviews back in the fourth quarter, we were showing that the loan delinquencies were actually creeping up, and that the investment by these small companies was actually falling or stagnant. And so the index was a really good predictor of this pretty sluggish GDP we had in the fourth quarter. And that's why this number today of a 1% increase is so important, because it does show that there's going to be some slow, but we think some very slow but steady growth over the next 2 to 5 months. Basically as SBLI goes, so goes GDP. You see slow SBLI, we think we're going to see slow GDP over the next 2 to 5 months. And that's about the kind of correlation and leading aspect that we see out of the SBLI index.